So what can happen with self-surrender, especially, is that we do change. Now, if you are seeking liberation, if you are seeking enlightenment, self-realization, then we are seeking for a change. We're looking for our suffering to end, which is to change. So we shouldn't be surprised if we are doing an effective spiritual practice that we change. But we want to change for the better. We don't want to change for the worse. So sometimes when we engage in these practices, it can seem like we're taking a backward step. This is never true. Never. If you're doing if you're doing a spiritual practice with pure intention, with a pure intention, that means a genuine yearning for freedom. You genuinely are yearning for freedom. You're not trying to be the next megalomaniac guru. You're not trying to take over the world with your cult. You're not trying to prove to your mummy and daddy and friends that you're spiritually superior to them. Not these kinds of motivations. If you have pure motivation, you're a genuine spiritual seeker, you will never, never fall backwards on the spiritual path. Even though it may seem that at times you are going backwards. It might seem that you and your life are in ruin or near ruin or just taking a backward step. It may seem like this, but that is never the case if your intentions are pure. More so, if you invoke and ask for your guru's grace, in our case, Ramana's grace, he will unfailingly guide us to our destination. And not only will he guide us unfailingly towards our destination, he will also guide us to the perfect rest stops along the way. He will provide us with spiritual nourishment that we need along the way. So he'll take us to our destination, and he'll also provide us with the best rest stops and nutrition and nourishment and fuel. Give us what we need along the way. There are a few things that can happen with surrender. Essentially, it comes down to the ego, the mind, and the various self-protective mechanisms of the ego and the mind. These things, the ego, the mind, and its self-protective mechanisms, they start to break down. The ego identity, the self-identity, the self-concept, the ego concept, the I thought, the ego concept, the concept of who I think I am as a body-mind starts to break down. This can mean that things that we have been protecting ourselves from, psychological pain, for example, psychological hurt, that we have maybe buried deep within ourselves, inside our psyches, inside our minds, inside our bodies, inside our cells. These psychological hurts and pains that we may have very effectively suppressed and kept pushed down, once this is a self-defense mechanism, we're protecting ourselves from feeling the pain of our earlier years, the mechanism can break down. And the pain that we've been suppressing starts to come out. We feel less emotionally stable. Because when the ego is in firm control, Sometimes, if you've got a good, strong, well-built ego, this will afford you a certain amount of protection. At least it seems that way. So you don't fall apart if someone calls you a name or something, you know? You've pushed your hurts and emotions down, so they don't come up very often. But when we surrender to God, to Bhagavan, His grace operates in us, all the pains, all the hurts, all the misery that we've suppressed and forced down starts to come up. And it doesn't feel good. But this is the healing process. This is the cleansing process. We're bringing out all the dirt, all the pain. We're bringing it out to the surface. We're allowing it to express itself. And therefore cleanse us. It's a purification process. It's like, imagine you have to clean a kitchen. Imagine you have to clean a kitchen, and it doesn't look that dirty. It's not very clean either. It doesn't look that dirty. But once you start cleaning it, once you put the water on the floor and you put some detergent on the floor and you start cleaning it, all the dirt seems to come out, you know? And halfway through cleaning this kitchen looks worse than it did before you started, you know? There's mud and dirt and grime and all this stuff, grease all coming out and as you're cleaning it. This is a part of the cleaning process. If someone walked in on that moment, it would look worse than before you started cleaning. But you have to go through this step. This is progress. This is progress. You might think to yourself halfway through cleaning this kitchen, you might think, oh my gosh, what have I done? This is worse than when I started. You know? Oh no, why did I start this? Now look where I am. Now I'm standing in a kitchen. There's water all over the floor. There's mud everywhere. There's grease everywhere. This is awful. But carry on. Carry on. Carry on with your sadhana. Carry on. You have faith. If you lose faith now, then you can push it back to where it was at the beginning and you'll be back to where you started off. But this is not what you really want. If you're willing to go through the healing process, you will allow these things to come out. So basically, we need to press on. And then when we press on and we carry on cleaning the kitchen in this metaphor, we end up with a sparkly clean kitchen. And that middle part where it looked horrible and worse, that's just a part of the journey. Your question is, how do you know you're on the right path? I'll show you my own experience. For me, I knew. I had faith. I knew. I could see that this was a part of the healing process. I had a sense, I had a deep sense that this is a part of the healing process. This sense, this faith, this intuition, this meant I was very happy to carry on. I never had a doubt. My advice to you would be, take it slow. Take it slow. Don't dive into the deep end of the swimming pool if you're not sure what you're doing. It can be overwhelming otherwise. You can find yourself overwhelmed with emotions. And if you don't have a deep intuitive sense, if you don't have a deep faith in this, then you'll find yourself drowning in your emotions and your feelings. And this might be very difficult for you. So my suggestion is, take it slowly. Once you have a bit of experience of this and you see how it works, you know, like rather than cleaning a great hall and trying to clean a great hall and halfway through you realize, oh my gosh, what's happening? I don't know if this is going to work. Start with a small room. And once you get some faith that, oh, this is just a part of the process, then this will help build up your faith, build up your experience. Once you have some small victories, you can move on to some bigger victories. So this is one thing. There's a couple of other things I wanted to say. A couple of other things is that, so that's what it was like for me. I just knew. There was a part of me that knew this was right. If you don't have that, I think it's quite difficult. So take it slow, pray, ask for Bhagwan's grace. See, take it slowly. There's no rush. You don't need to do this at 100 miles per hour. Okay. You have all the time in the world, literally. There's no rush. You are already the self. So there's no rush to be the self, because that's what you are already. Okay? Have faith in yourself. Have faith in yourself. Know what you are. You are the self. You are that. So, no need to worry. Another thing that can happen. Often we have strong, this is similar to what I was saying before, but often we can have strong ideas about what kind of person we are. Some people have a sort of internal monologue that's a bit like this. It says, I know what kind of person I am. I am this kind of person. I am that kind of person. You know, I'm a strong person. Or they might say, I'm not afraid of anything. You know, or they have these views and these concepts about themselves. And these views and the concepts might be, I'm very popular. I'm very attractive. I'm very beautiful. You know, people love me. I'm very funny. You know, these are some examples of positive self-concepts. Of course, we can have negative self-concepts as well. Examples being the opposites of the ones I've just illustrated. But let's take some of those positive self-concepts. If you have this kind of positive self-concept, I'm very funny, I'm very sociable, I'm very popular, I love to talk, you know, people love talking with me. This can give you confidence in the world. You have a self-identity, beliefs about who you are as a body-mind. When you start to surrender, these beliefs start to disintegrate. Because these are all fictional beliefs based upon the greater fiction, which is I am a body-mind. And when these positive self-concepts start to go, we feel lost. We didn't realize that we were reliant on these positive self-concepts to get us through the day, to get us through our daily lives. And as these positive self-concepts start to dissolve away, we can feel lost and weak. And the mental weakness in the mind, the emotional weakness in the mind, is often felt as physical weakness as well. The lack of, if I expect this has happened to most of you, I'll be surprised if it hasn't. But if you've ever been in a situation where you just completely lost confidence in yourself for whatever reason, your whole body feels weak. Your whole body feels tired. If you've ever felt demotivated or depressed, your whole body feels depressed. Your whole body feels tired and depleted. So our psychology can feel like weakness in the body. And as we let go of self-concept, negative self-concept we get rid of, that's beautiful. When we lose a negative self-concepts, I'm ugly, no one wants to talk to me, no one loves me, no one could ever love me. If you lose these negative self-concepts, it feels great. But if we lose positive self-concepts like, I'm not afraid of nothing, I'm amazing, I'm really sociable, I'm really popular, I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful, I'm attractive, I'm young, whatever it is. Some of these concepts are conscious, some of them you don't realize you have. You don't realize you have them until they go. And then you think, oh gosh, you get scared. So when we start losing our positive self-concepts, it all dissolves, you see. And then it can make us feel weak. Actually, it's not weakness. It's just we're coming into contact with a greater reality. And we're starting to deal with the lies that we've told ourselves, like these positive self-concepts are ultimately lies. And we have to deal with the emotions we're protecting ourselves from. So, for example, if you have a positive self-concept such as "I'm really popular, I'm amazing," that's there to protect you from the fear of being unpopular or unamazing in the eyes of other people. So there's behind these positive, especially if you've got strong positive self-concepts, they're usually there to stop us feeling, to defend ourselves. They're self-defense mechanisms, psychological defense mechanisms, psychological self-defense mechanisms, ego defense mechanisms to prevent us from feeling bad about ourselves. They're actually based on fear. So all this stuff can happen. All our psychology starts to unravel. This is why if you can have faith that you are, in essence, divine, in essence, God, in essence, beautiful, not because of your form, not because of the body form, but deeper than that, your essence is beautiful. Your essence is pure beauty. Divine grace, divine beauty. You know, when we say someone is graceful, oh, they look so graceful, full of grace. Graceful means full of grace. There's a divinity in that. This is our nature. So if we lose the concepts, positive and negative self-concepts, it's useful to have some deeper concepts to help us through this. Namely, I am God. I am divine. I am strength itself. I am the strength of strength. Strength in the worldly sense comes from me, who is the essence of strength. I am that which is the essence of strength. I am that which underpins even strength and beauty and everything. So to have some kind of intuition and insight into the fact that your very nature is godly, is spiritual. You are spiritual. You are spirit. You are God. You are divine essence. Ramana is with you. Christ is with you. Krishna is your friend by your side within you. He dwells in the hearts of all beings. So if you can have this conviction inside you. See, my feelings, we all know this already. My feelings, we all have this intuition in our hearts already. I'm just helping uncover this. Initially, just a little bit, and then eventually, fully. See, the mind creates concepts, and it deals in concepts, and through these concepts, it creates an artificial sense of certainty and security. And when the mind and the ego mind starts to dissolve, the concepts that were there with it, that creates this artificial sense of security and certainty, also go. And we're left with this uncertain world that's changing. And it can be very confusing. So the truth of the phenomenal world is its constant change, constant flux, no certainty, no security. And our ego, some of us will have created concepts and ideas about ourselves, about the world we live in, that create an artificial sense of security and an artificial sense of certainty. So when the ego starts to go, the constructs that made us feel secure and certain also can start to go. And we're confronted with this change in reality, very insecure. It can be very scary. If you don't have a concept of the absolute, of the divine, of the unchanging, it can be a very rough time. This is why all the true traditions tend to have this kind of concept. Even in Buddhism, these concepts either were there at the beginning or they developed as Buddhism developed. Concepts such as Buddha nature. The concepts such as the deathless, the unborn. This was there in the original Buddhism as far as we could tell. And later on, you have concepts of things like Buddha nature. So these concepts of the divine that we are, the unchanging peace, are very helpful to us. It means we can navigate this spiritual journey with the least amount of discomfort and tension and unhappiness and misery. Because otherwise, it's like a rug being whipped out from underneath your feet, and you've got nowhere to land, nowhere to hold on to. So part of the teaching is to give you some concepts to hold on to along the way, so you don't feel like you're drowning, and you can orientate yourself and you can let go in a more pleasant way. And this is why another value to the concept of the self, the divine self, the unchanging, divine, unmoving, ever blissful, ever pure, all-pervading, heavenly self. So, yeah.